Aloha, welcome back to Aina Bear Farm. We haven't made a video in a few weeks because we've been very busy cutting down lots of trees. So these were Podocarpus trees that were lining the back of our property. You can see by the stump size, anywhere from about 8 inches in diameter to maybe as much as 2 feet. There's about 70 of them in total. It's a lot of work. So reasons that we were cutting them down. Number one, you can see this power line. They were growing all through the power line and disrupting power and threatening to cut the power during any decent windstorm. And they were just going to get bigger, so we knew we needed to deal with them before they became a huge problem. They did not work for a windbreak because there's the ocean. That's where the wind comes from. They're on the wrong side. They also, sorry if I'm turning too fast, they were on the back of the house, too close to the house. So they provided a lot of shade in the winter on the house because that is south, uphill. We have solar water heater on the roof there that was totally blocked in the winter. It really didn't work in the winter at all. Back of our house was dark. Getting all this extra light and sun in and airflow should help moisture levels, keep the mold down. And then as you can see from these piles, this is about all the carbon we're ever going to need to feed our food forest. So we'll show you in just a minute how we're going to be moving these piles to our fruit trees. But the last reason has to do with the garden. So we have our large kitchen garden here. And I knew that these trees blocked the sun in the winter, this being south. Wasn't that big of a deal to me because I farmed in Maryland and I'm used to shutting down in the winter anyways. So around the solstice, the shadow would shade out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beds, about half of the market garden. Which again, wasn't that big of a deal because to me that just meant these beds go to rest in the winter. Maybe we cover crop them, just, look at that as a revitalization period and we sort of rotate our crops accordingly. But then as I started to manage these beds and to get some poor growth and have other issues going on here, I discovered that the roots of these Podocarpus coming all the way down here, even though I cut through what I thought were all the main roots here. And this is about 20 feet and well beyond the drip line, as you can see there. So I thought I had cut through all the roots here, but I think what happened is as I started to irrigate and fertilize with manure and other organic matter in here, those Podocarpus roots said, "Oh, thank you," and they grew under all the way down halfway to the garden. I found their fine fibrous roots feeding underneath my garden plants and sucking all the moisture out. I would have days where I'd irrigate for an hour and then come out by the end of the day, even though it was covered in a thick bed of straw, and find it almost dry and thought, how is this possible? I know we have amazing drainage, but this seems insane. And now I think I figured out why. I think those Podocarpus roots were like straws, just sucking all the moisture out of the garden all the way back up into these trees, because we get long dry periods here. And so they would dry out and they would just go down and look for water. So that's really one of the main reasons we wanted to get rid of it. Now, we'll probably keep this as a bit of a hedge. We'll keep it maintained at a regular level where we can come in once a year or so and just kind of buzz the top off of these. That hopefully will keep the roots from wanting to go so far to find nutrients, but we're going to keep an eye on that. If they still seem like they want to go into the garden, I may just have to eradicate them completely. Then I mentioned we've got plenty of wood. A lot of this will go out to the food forest. Some of it will also be used to build a hugelkultur berm, where we'll bury the wood back here, because we do have a decent slope that runs all the way right into the back of the house. So that is not ideal, even though we have amazing drainage and I've never seen any issues here. Now that we've cut so many trees that would act as straws for that moisture, I am concerned that all that moisture is going to start to build up against the back of the house here. And I mean, the house is elevated a couple feet on a slab, so it's not that worrisome, but what I want to do is come and build a berm here. So we'll build this up, put wood in it to rot, and then we'll plant a line of bananas all along there, because bananas are notorious at pulling up water and storing it. And that will help us to kind of regain relatively quickly some of the privacy that we had from that screen, which is mostly, as you can see, just from cows staring at you. All right, let's go have a look at how we're going to use this amazing resource. All right, so we're looking at one of our fruit trees in our food forest. This is a white sapote, and you can see we have stacked up some of that woody debris around the tree. And so this is our intention, to go around all of our fruit trees with about this amount of wood, some taller pieces on the lower side because of the downslope here. And then that way we can keep piling up stuff inside of this ring and have it be somewhat contained as it breaks down. So when you use fresh wood like this, it's going to break down very slow, which is good because there's so much carbon here that what can happen at times is that, like if you were to put this much fresh carbon on your soil right away, like if you chipped it, put that down, and it hasn't sat and started to break down for a while, it's going to, air quotes, recruit a lot of nitrogen from your soil to start to break it down to kind of try to balance itself. With this method, it's really not that much of an issue. However, I do think it's ideal if you have the resource and you're putting in a slow carbon source like this, just go ahead and spread manure all around there. We're going to be getting some fresh horse manure pretty soon. So hopefully we'll have enough. We can go around and just spread it in around those logs just to kind of keep that balance of nitrogen, help give it a boost to start breaking it down. But like I said, it's a slow process, and I'm hoping even here in the tropics that this will be enough carbon to feed our trees all the way into adulthood, which is great because it's a lot of work to get those trees cut down, cut them up, bring them out here. But, you know, we're putting that carbon to good use by growing more carbon sequestering trees with it, and then really lowering the amounts of other inputs that we need for these trees, and doing it in such a way that we don't have to like keep coming back over and over and over. Like, this is it. This is the carbon. So by the time all this is broken down, that white sapote is going to be full-fledged adult, fruiting, big roots in the ground. I don't really have to worry about it too much other than the occasional pruning and maybe a boost of micronutrients through manures or something like that. So it's pretty exciting. Been a lot of work. It's really taken up a lot of our time. And so we haven't made any other videos, but do stay tuned. We will have the promised 2-year food forest tour, complete tour, coming up soon. We have, our trimmer is broken that we use to cut all this guinea grass. And as things go on the Big Island, repair is very slow. So we're waiting on that to get repaired. Hopefully any day now, and we can come through and make everything really pretty for a nice long tour video. So sit tight. We may have another video before then. Otherwise, we'll see you back here at Ina Bear Farm soon. Thanks for watching. Aloha.